Okay, guys, we are going to make stained glass windows, but we're going to make them differently than you did in kindergarten with the paper. Okay, in kindergarten you painted them, and remember, Frank Lloyd Wright though he made stained glass windows that had geometric shapes, circles, squares, rectangles. Okay, and you'll be doing kind of the same thing, but this time you're going to be using transparency paper. Now, well, it's not paper; it's plastic transparencies. A transparency before computers and smartboards and things, we used to you have overhead projectors, and teachers would write on these, but they don't use them anymore because we have computers, and now we have a bunch of these transparencies, which are really cool because you can draw on them with Sharpie markers to make them look like stained glass windows. And actually, the idea for the stained glass windows came from the kindergarten ones came from this. So this was actually first. And then I didn't have Sharpie markers for a year, but now we have some again. So I'm going to just start out by putting my transparency on a piece of white paper so you can see what you're drawing. And I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to put it just right on the corner, just a little bit, so it doesn't move. Okay, so the paper stays on the transparency. Okay, and now you take it and you just kind of put it on there and stick it down. Oh, this one's not. There's no sticky part to keep that on there. So I'm going to actually take another piece of tape and tape it down with that. So there it is. Okay, there's my transparency paper. Now I'm going to take a black Sharpie to start. And I'm going to make 4 lines, but I'm going to kind of go around in a clockwise, I'm going to make lines in a clockwise manner. Here's what I mean. You want your lines to be straight, so as long as your ruler is even, you don't have to measure, because as long as your ruler is even to the outside, okay? And here's my first line. Now that marker is not super good, but it's good enough to start with, okay? At the end, we'll go back over your black lines to make them light. And guys, once you draw it, blow on it real quick so the line doesn't get smudged. And then always pick your ruler up and put it back down. Now, my second line, I spun my paper clockwise. Actually, I spun it counterclockwise, but my lines will be going around clockwise. Okay? And I'm going to make another line like right here. And I just want to make sure it's even. And I'm touching that first one. So there's that one. Blow on it for a second. And I'm going to make another one here. And then I'm going to make one right here. Now, here we go. So there it is to start off with. Then I'm going to add a couple more lines inside of these lines. Like, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make smaller areas inside. Okay, and there's one, and I'll put another one here. Okay, and then maybe I'll make a big square inside of this one. And the whole thing is, I don't want to make them, well, I don't want to touch the lines. I don't want to have lines going straight across the paper because it makes it look a little bit more interesting if I break everything up. Okay, so like here, I'll put another one up here, so my line's not going straight across the paper. Okay, and so I'll keep making lines until I get to the point where I can start adding my color. Okay, so I have purple, red, and green, and on this paper, the purple looks blue, but you don't want to touch a color to itself. So I've got purple here, green here, purple here, red here. So I'm going to put red in this one. When you color with these markers, outline first. And I'm using the side of the marker. So I'm just outlining this area first. And then I'm going to go back in here. Okay. And using the side of the marker, now that I've outlined it to give myself a buffer from going into the next one, I'm going to use the side of my marker and I'm coloring in, but I'm taking my time. Okay. And I'll just color in a little area first. You don't have to color the whole thing in at one time. Okay. Yeah, don't scribble. Color in one direction. Okay? Because it will look much more finished and nice and neat if you color everything in the same direction. Okay? So, I'm even going to break this one up into smaller areas. And I'll put some circles in here too that I didn't add yet that I will. Because in some of Frank Lloyd Wright's stained glass windows, there were circles in there with them. And Frank Lloyd Wright, guys, while he was known mostly for designing houses, he was called an architect, which is an artist that designs houses. He was also very well known for these stained glass windows he made. And you can see when we're done, and I'll show you in a second here, you'll be able to see through them like a stained glass window. Okay, it'll just be the colors that will be showing, and then we'll put a nice frame around it, and it will look like a stained glass window when we're done. Okay, and that's when you're done with the last project.